Today we're going to be going over a few mistakes that people might be making, newer players might be making, but also maybe even longtime players are making. I just want to throw it out there that I'm not trying to come at anybody. I'm not trying to clown at anybody, because a lot of these mistakes I made once myself as well. So it's just, it happens, you know? But yeah, so we're going to be going over those things and just kind of how to avoid them. That way we can make the game a little bit more smoother and a little bit more fun and easier for you guys. But yeah, let's just hop right into it. Now, the first mistake I see a lot of people make, and this applies to both new and veteran players, and again, this is even a mistake that I've made in the past before. I think a lot of people overestimate how many spells you really need to be efficient in a fight. There's a lot of people that probably have a deck that looks like this. It's just full to the max. And okay, one thing I want to throw out there real quick is this is going to be a little bit different if you're a lower level. If you are like a brand new, like level 1 to, let's say, level 30, it's probably going to be a little cluttered, because if you don't have AoEs, if you don't have a spell that attacks all enemies, then you're just gonna have to rely on a lot of single hits. It's gonna be tough, but that's different for like very early game. But once you get to like that mid to late game, once you start getting, your 7-pip AoEs, even your 4-pip AoEs, the game becomes so much easier and so much simpler, to where you don't need all these spells in your deck to be efficient and successful in your fights. Yeah, I see a lot of people, even veteran players, level 100 plus, that have decks that look like this. And I'm not saying you can't run a deck like this, or that you're not supposed to, really. But if you're like in a team up scenario, especially if you're a hitter and you're holding the rest of the team back, because they're all relying on you to kill the boss in a timely manner, especially if it's a boss that cheats, and they have like the cycles, like the cheat comes every 5 rounds or something like that, or every 3 rounds. People are gonna start getting frustrated if they're all waiting for you to find the spell that you need to kill the boss. If you just keep passing over and over again, like, oh man, I can't find what I'm looking for. It happens a lot, and it's kind of frustrating, and it's, it really just comes down to people, again, overestimating how many spells they need. So I'm going to show you guys a deck that I would run personally, that is very efficient. It's all you really need, and it's just going to make the game a lot easier for you and the people that you're playing with. All right, so if I'm fighting mobs at a higher level, this is what my deck would roughly look like. All you really need in a mob fight is 2 AoE hits, a blade, and a frenzy. Or if you don't have frenzy yet, then just replace that with a second blade. And this is really all you need. I mean, if you don't kill with your big hit, I would say like frenzy first turn, and then 7-pip AoE. And they should be pretty close to, if they're not already dead, they should be pretty close to dead. And then you can just follow up with a, either 2-pip or a 4-pip AoE, and they should absolutely be dead. Now, if you want to be on the safer side, you could just like double this, do like 4 enchants with 4 hits, 2 blades, whatever. But this is really all you need. And worst case scenario, if you do run out of cards and they're still alive somehow, just throw in reshuffle TCs, and that will just replenish all the cards in your deck. And then you basically already have, the double what you would already have here. So yeah, that's the first thing I would say, is it's just going to make the game a lot easier for you guys, and also for the people that you're playing with. Now, the second mistake that I'm going to go over that a lot of newer players might make, and again, something that I did when I first started playing the game, is just wasting your training points, training unnecessary spells. Now, this may not seem like a big deal at first, but it's going to hurt you down the line if you just train a bunch of random stuff that you don't even need, or you'll probably never even end up using. Now, if I'm an ice wizard, right, all I need to worry about is, as far as attacks go, are my ice attacks. A lot of people might think oh, and this is the mindset that I had when I first started playing the game, right? I thought, because I made a fire wizard for my first wizard, I thought if I was fire, I'm like, okay, well, maybe I should train ice spells. That way I have okay, my strength, but then also my my polar opposite. I don't know what my mindset was at the time, but that's just kind of where my mind was. If I fight a fire guy, then I'll have ice attacks to be able to fight him and combat that. Every single school in the game except for balance gets a spell called a prism, which does exactly what that mindset is. It converts your attacks to the opposite school. So for example, right here, this would convert any ice damage that I output into fire damage. If you're a storm, it would convert it to myth. If you're a life, it would convert it to death. Again, every single school gets that except for balance, so you don't need to worry about getting any attack spells for any other schools. Besides, if you're dual schooling, late game or advanced combat, that's a little bit different. But just for your regular, just playing through the game, doing mobs, doing just regular quests, It's completely unnecessary. And one thing you do want to focus on is utility spells, and that would be these right here, the astral spells. You really want to get these enchants, so you just add extra damage onto your attacks. And then sharpen blade, which adds extra damage onto your blades, and it also gives you the ability to stack blades. And then also some of these auras, which would be frenzy, and if you want, you can learn embrace for a more defensive strategy. But the end all be all, the most important spell you guys are gonna want to save your training points for is this spell right here, Feint. This is probably one of the most, if not the most important spells in the entire game. It shows you right here, it does an extra 70% outgoing damage. Yes, the only sacrifice is that it gives you a plus 30% damage incoming trap on yourself. But it's really like the trade-off is so worth it, because like if you're any school in the game that is defensive, so if you're like a balance, a life, an ice, even like arguably death, because death has drain, like it doesn't, that 30% trap is really not going to matter, because either A, like you're already a tanky school, you can just heal it off, or it really doesn't matter. But the damage output that you're going to get, the extra damage output that you get from it, is just so helpful, especially if you're in a team up scenario where you can have people that stack feints, so you can have one person do like a regular feint and then one person do like a TC feint. I mean, it just makes the fights go by so much faster. Now, I'm going to show you guys an example real quick of what an attack would look like at a low level. This is only level 39. What an attack would look like with feint and without. So first we're going to use vampire without a feint. So the vampire without a feint did 442 damage, right? Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to see how much it does with a feint. Look at that, 751. So we went from 442 to 751. Just with a feint alone, we nearly doubled our damage output. So if you add that with a couple of blades or whatever, like you are going to be absolutely just stacking up so much extra damage. The third mistake that I see some people making is not utilizing the stats on your gear properly. And this could be for a couple of different reasons. Maybe it's just because, you know, if you're new to the game, maybe you don't know exactly what stats do what, or you know, what stats are even important. And it could be even if you're a newer player or an older player, if you just don't really know where to get proper gear, or good gear, I should say. So one thing that people might be doing is they might just throw on gear that they get from drops. You know, some bosses and mobs will drop you equipment, and I'm sure it's very common for people to just go ahead and throw that stuff on. They just say, oh well, I just got this, so I may as well throw it on. And we're gonna do a little comparison as to what your stats may look like if you are somebody that's doing that, versus if you actually go out of your way to pay attention to the stats that your equipment has, and also going out of the way to get gear that gives you the proper stats that is going to help you in the game. So this is what an example, I mean, it's not going to be identical because it could be anything that you throw on, but this is just an example of what it might look like if you just throw on any random gear that you get for drops. So this hat just gives health, you know, random death resist, death damage a little bit, and then, you know, for your theme, you just get mana, and then the ring, you get a little bit of health. And it's going to look something like this. I mean, only 5% damage, basically no resist, no accuracy, only a base of 32% power pip chance. And the stats that you're really going to want to focus on, no matter what point of the game you're in, you're going to want to really focus on damage, accuracy, and pip chance. Those are the top three. Everything else that you get on top of that is just a bonus, in my opinion. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to show you guys what your stats could look like if, again, you go out of your way to actually get gear that is going to give you the proper stats. And here we are. Look, we got 50 damage now, universal resist of 17 plus 20 and 30 damage to these other scores, which again, this is a great bonus, but it's not absolutely detrimental. 4% accuracy, which is not crazy, but we'll get more as we go on in the game. And then 59% power pips. So we almost doubled our power pips. And if you don't know what any of these stats mean, you can always come over here into the help tab, and you can go under character and combat and the icon dictionary, and it'll tell you what all these different things that I'm talking about are. For example, the fist damage, accuracy is this little bullseye target. So yeah, and so this is what the gear looks like that I'm rocking right now. So this hat gives us power pips and damage. The robe gives us all of the above. It gives us the power pips, the accuracy, and the damage, as well as some other stuff, the health, the resist, the outgoing healing, or the incoming healing. All that kind of stuff is all extra. So if you can find gear or farm for gear that has these type of stats, that's absolutely what you're going to want to rock, because it's going to make the game so much easier and so much just just like the other tips that I gave you, just a way more smoother experience. Also, the pet makes a big difference too, which is going to lead us into our fourth mistake that people make, and that's not utilizing your pets properly. Now, I touched on this a little bit in the last video that I made, which was 5 tips for new and returning players, and one of those was including using pets. And one mistake that I see a lot of people making is, just like with the gear, they just throw on any random pet and they just train it up to whatever, and it doesn't really help you out that much. It doesn't give you very good stats. And this pet right here is the base pet that you get when you first start the game. And as you can see, like, it's only at teen, but it gives us a will cast death assist, which is nothing like crazy. Sure, it might help you out in like the first 5 levels of the game, but later on, you're really going to want to utilize actually getting stats on your pets, which, yes, if you guys didn't know, you can get real stats, just like the same stuff that you get on your equipment, you can get on your pets as well. So this one right here has 18 damage, 11 resist, plus 6 on the socket, but 11 base resist, and then the 4% pierce, which is a very good, well-balanced pet. If you want to go full offensive, this pet right here, a quint damage, is really what you're going to want to rock. But you can go ahead and you can use anything. I touched on this again in my last video. If you want, you can customize your pet however you would like. You can get accuracy on there. You can get power pips on there. You can get critical on there. Whatever it is that you want. But in my opinion, if you guys want to be the most efficient and the best player that you can possibly be, then you're going to want to go all damage, or maybe like 4 damages and a pierce or something like that. Now, if you guys are struggling to find pets that are good, or pets that have the talents that you want, you can come over here into the pet pavilion, and they have what's called the pet kiosk, or the hatching kiosk. So you can come over here, and if you go to browse pets up here in the top right corner, you can search for specific pet talents. So you can type right here whatever talent you may want. If you want a damage, an accuracy, a resist, whatever it is that you want, type it in, and then it'll give you a whole list of pets that has that stat right on it. So say we wanted a pet with spell proof and death dealer, we just go ahead and type those 2 in. Unfortunately, you can only put 2 in at a time. I don't know why they didn't give us the option to put more in, but you type those 2 in, search for all talents, and then, like I said, they'll give you a whole list of pets that have those stats that you want on them, and then you can just scroll through and see which one looks right for you. But I'll go ahead and show you, like, if I'm using this pet right here, the Midnight Cat, with absolutely no stats on it, like, our damage is going to be at 32 right now, right? And 0 resistance. Now, if I go ahead and I throw on a quint damage, our damage is going to go from 32 up to 60, right? Now, that's almost doubling our damage, which is crazy. And like I said, damage is one of the most, if not the most important stat in the game that you're going to want to focus on. If you do want to have some damage, but also a little bit of, defense, just to kind of balance it out, you could rock something like this, like 2 resist and 2 damages. And this is what our stats are going to look like. So 10 less damage, but we're still at 50, along with the 17% resist that I was talking about earlier. So whatever you guys want, it's very much up to you. But again, you're going to want to make sure that you're actually focusing on the talents that are going to help you, rather than just throwing on any random pet. The 5th mistake that some people might be making is trying to solo the entire game by themselves. Now, let me just throw it out there. If that's what you guys are wanting to do, then that's absolutely fine. If you want to be, a player, if you want it to be challenging and you want to test yourself and play the game solo, by all means, that's fine. I solo the game too. But if you are a newer player and you're struggling, and you can't get past a certain fight, or you can't get past a certain dungeon, and you're just trying to solo it, and you just can't do it, and you're stuck and you're frustrated, and you're just thinking, well, like, I can't get past this part in the game, so I guess it might be frustrating to the point where you don't want to play anymore. Which is something that I have done in the past as well. I didn't even know, that other people might be trying to do the same thing that I'm doing, and that it would be so helpful to actually team up with other people in the game. I mean, this is a MMO, a massive multiplayer online game. So take advantage of having other players in the game to help you out. And one thing that they added was not a thing when I first started playing the game is this team up feature right here. If you go to a boss or a dungeon and you stand over the sigil right here, a little team up button will pop up, and that gives you the ability to anybody that's, you know, not even in the area, but if they are trying to do Mirror Lake, you just hit team up. And look at that. Like, I have another person in here already that's waiting for somebody to help them out. Now, back when I first started playing the game, you had to actually wait until somebody was actually present in your area, or go up here in the different realms and just kind of farm the realms to see, like, if you could happen to find somebody waiting in one of those realms to do the same fight that you're trying to do. And that was kind of a pain, especially if you went through all the realms and there was nobody trying to do the fight that you're trying to do. It can get pretty hard. But the thing is now they have the team up feature. You could also go to the commons, which is like the very first place that you enter in the game in Wizard City. Just ask people for help. Somebody might be there. A lot of people hang out there and that's what they do. They sit in the comments and they are waiting for people to ask for help, like, because that's, you know, that's just what they want to do. They want to help people out, newer players, whatever. There's also a Wizard101 Discord. There's a couple different ones. There's the official Wizard101 Discord. There's also a Gamma's trading post, and I'm sure there's other ones as well that I don't even know about. But there's a lot of Discord communities that actually have a team up slash like help section in their Discord. And so yeah, you just hop in one of those and you just ask for help, and there's a lot of people in there that are probably willing to help you, that are willing to help you out. So yeah, guys, just don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to not try to solo the game, or, you know, if you want, then by all means, that's great. But if you are like really frustrated, or maybe you just didn't even know that like that these things were a thing, that's why I'm here to kind of try to let you know. That way, you know, I don't want to see people quit the game because something's too hard or because they don't have help. But anyways, I think that's gonna do it for today's video. That is 5 mistakes that people might be making and how to avoid them. If this helped you out, if this helped anybody out in any way, shape, or form, please be sure to drop a like. That way this video gets shown out to other new players, and it can help them out as well. If you guys want to see any follow-up videos, more tips and tricks, or maybe more mistakes that people might be making, or anything like that, let me know down in the comment section below. Subscribe if you guys are new, that way you guys don't miss out on any of those future videos. I appreciate you all for watching, and I will see you in the next one.